It's like, in the old ancient folklore and myths where the man was wandering in the desert.
Hmm.
He was in the wild. He was in the wasteland. I think of, the Badlands of Australia and that sort of thing, just wandering out there
Right.
with limited resources. And it'd be easy to get depressed because everything around you is devastated. You're in hell. You
Right.
need to keep walking when you're in hell. These wasteland periods, the psychologist Carl Jung would talk about how in these periods, this is where you find your greatest treasures. And what that was to say is that in being a man, much like the movie we were talking about, Swept Away,
Hmm.
he talked about how, two people stuck on an island together and this guy's masculine skills were brought to bear where he could fish and find food, and the woman wasn't able to do that. Being in the wasteland is where you're tempered, where you're put through, the forge and made strong, made like steel, where you discover the gifts you already have and use them, and you find out what your deficits are and how you have to sharpen them, exactly how you have to sharpen them. And you can't discover those things in any other place in life.
Yeah, one thing that is very helpful for me is to bear in mind time, because problems feel very immediate and their emotional impact feels very immediate. But the truth is, in my own experience, that most things pass. This too shall pass is a phrase,
Yes.
and that in a year's time or 6 month time, time has a very healing effect. And so sometimes I know that I'm going through a slog right now. I'm walking through the wasteland, but I'll just do what is right, do what I know and I'm able to do in the near term, and then life will continue. I'll keep trudging and I'll emerge from that. I'll hit an oasis. I'll revisit the coastline and I'll be out of the wasteland. So that's been very helpful. Maybe some examples of things that are out of our control and things that are within our control. What comes to mind immediately is like a tragic accident or something outside of one's control. The appropriate psychological way to handle that, the loss of a family member or some significant loss of opportunity that was not the doing of the individual, is to just understand it and move on. Is there any?
Well, yeah, I think if there's something missing in us that makes it difficult to see the bird's eye view of time and that time heals, it would be this: our lack of patience. It's our impatience that causes us, and it's part of our immaturity, that causes us to not see that time is very long and there will be a tomorrow. Even in terms of topics like breakups or losses, challenges that we have, it's easy to be so in the moment and so in the emotions that it seems like it will last forever, but there's always tomorrow. So one of the techniques that I give guys to help them get over this impatience and difficulty seeing that time heals is practice enjoying the future now.
Oh, I like that.
Enjoy the future now. Because what you're going to learn in your wasteland periods of life, where it looks like everything is devastating all around you, is that these skills that you build, these survival skills, like being able to fish, like the guy in the movie Swept Away, those are going to serve you into the future, and things will get better, both by time passing and by your new skills that you couldn't have gotten anywhere else except the
Mhm.
wasteland. Look to what your future dreams or aspirations are and savor them now. And that will help tide you through any impatience that you have over time passing.
The wrong thing to do, and I speak from experience here, is to cause more compound the problem by ignoring the immediate things that are necessary. In other words, like putting the ostrich metaphor, putting my head in the sand and
Mm,
hoping it'll
not
just
paying
go
the
away,
bills.
not paying the bills. Oh, things are so frustrating. I'm just going to ignore life. Well, life doesn't stop. So one thing I know at this stage in my life is that even if I have a bunch of things that are bothering me, I still have to do the standard things of life so that when I emerge from that emotional pothole, I haven't made worse problems for myself. The rent is still paid. I still went to work. I
Right.
still honored my commitments. I still did everything. So yes, that was a pothole, but I found that I could still function through that period. And then when I emerged, my life is still intact. I think it's very dangerous for a guy to throw everything out and say, I'm just going to wallow in this. And then he recovers from the initial injury or insult. And now he has a whole new host of problems because he was failing his responsibilities during that period.
Yes. So if I were going to give you an assignment, some homework about both of these issues, depression and difficult times, I would say I'd want you to combine using your boundary, cultivating it, and using assertiveness, cultivating that by picking something in the coming week, 2 needs that you can identify that you have that maybe weren't on the surface, that you had to think a little bit about. What are my 2 needs this week that will enrich my life, that will make me feel satisfied and full, that nobody else really can do for me? It might be cutting some things out of your schedule, or it might be having a really good meal because you've been so busy.
Or sticking with your gym regimen. You go to work out and knowing that you'll feel better if you stay consistent with that.
Something nurturing of yourself or mothering of yourself. 2 things this week, and go do them to the exclusion of other people's desires. If other people have an agenda for you, you have to tell them no and go meet those 2 needs. And in so doing, you'll also be using a boundary because you'll be telling others no. One last piece to the boundary that you can do, part 2 of this homework, is I want you to identify 3 things this week that bother you, frustrate you, but which clearly you do not control, and put them into the I don't control this wastebasket and accept it. And then shift your attention back to your needs that you can do something about.